Hello and welcome to Chapter 1 of Dr. Russell Fuller's Elementary Hebrew. I wanted to take some time here and just look through the alphabet and vowels with you and make a couple of comments. Let's move to the alphabet. I'm using the app 53 here, trying to write and work through some of this. So here is your page from the textbook with the alphabet. I hope you can see this a little bit, but just make a couple of comments here. Hopefully you will have already watched the video that Dr. Fuller provides. And I want to just point out a few things. First off, I want you to know that the transliterations here and the cursive is going to be fairly unnecessary for our class. So don't feel like you need to spend a lot of extra time memorizing those. The transliterations especially we will not use. However, you may want to know those or take a look at those for the purposes of just understanding other commentaries and perhaps other articles that would use transliterations. But for our purposes in this class, we won't use those. And then for the cursive, you really want to know the cursive setup here insofar as what Dr. Fuller or myself may use when writing. A lot of times cursive can be a little bit faster, similarly to English. And so we will sometimes use cursive in order to just speed things up, and you'll want to be able to recognize those. But as far as your own handwriting, these block printed letters here are going to be the best ones. And I've provided a couple of handouts, maybe one on handwriting. So be aware of that. The next thing that I want to point out are the two silent letters, Aleph and Ayin. Now this is going to perhaps be a little bit odd to us that we actually have silent consonants, but these two consonants in fact are silent. And if you think about how we read Hebrew, if these boxes just simply represent letters. Let's say in this box we have the Aleph, the silent Aleph. We're going to read Hebrew this way, right to left and up to down. So we're going to go here, then to this consonant, then to this vowel, then to this consonant, and if we had more vocalic or phonetic values after that, we would just keep right on going. In this case we don't. So we would read in that way. If, in fact, let me back up a little bit, we get the Aleph in this position, and let's say we have a kametz, a long kametz here, which is an A value, as in father. What we would do is just skip the phonetic value of the Aleph because it doesn't have a phonetic value. It's silent. And we go straight to the A of the kametz there. So let's say we have a dalet here, another kametz, and then we have a final mem. We would say a, da, am, adam, just like that. Okay. So these are silent letters. Let me erase some of this. And so yeah, just kind of know that it's something a little different that we don't have in English, namely a silent consonant. But those, in fact, are silent. So I just wanted to point those out to you. The next thing I want to point out to you is what we would call, I'm trying to get a clean slate here, sorry about that, is what we would call Begad Kifat letters. Let me see if I can do this. Begad, oops, that should have been big. Okay, and then like this. So if you can get a different color here, if you can see the letters that are capitalized here, these represent Beit, Gimel, Dalet, we have Kaf, Pei, and then finally Tav. And you'll see these letters in the chart are duplicated, one with a dot and one without a dot. So these are letters in the Hebrew alphabet that can take a dot. Now, we'll learn in chapter 4 this week that this dot here is a different dot than another one. So we've got a couple of dots, but for the sake of the alphabet, just know that these letters can take a dot. Let me pull up my eraser here and clear the slate. The next thing we want to look at for the alphabet are the letters that are what we would call final letters or final forms. So there are certain letters in the Hebrew alphabet that take a middle form and a final form. And those are listed in this column. Let me see, go into the eraser, let's go back, good. Those are listed in this column, okay? And so be aware of those: final, kaf, mem, nun, pei, and sade, okay? And I think the next thing that I want to mention to you, and this would be it. Nope, also guttural letters. Let's mention gutturals. So we have, with the gutturals, we have aleph, he, chet, ayin, and then I'm going to put resh down here in parentheses. Sometimes resh is a guttural, and if you say resh real front in your mouth, in the front of your mouth, resh, like we would in English, it has that R sound. But if you move it to the back of your throat, resh, you can also get a kind of a guttural idea. And so this semi-guttural, we're going to find that resh sometimes functions like a guttural, sometimes it does not. So it's a semi-guttural, but know those as well, and I believe those are listed in your chapter. The last thing I want to point out to you is this letter right here, sade. This letter is an odd phonetic that we don't have in English. This TS together at the beginning. Go ahead and say that, sade, okay? And when you start running it together, it'll be a little different, sade, right? So you can say it fast, but let's go ahead and run that together, and that'll get us used to saying that consonant that we haven't typically seen before. The last one here is this little guy. If it's connected at the top right there, we call this a het, okay? And it takes that German CH, het. So it's that guttural hak kind of sound. So that's another one that's a little different than we have in English. So there are the consonants. Let's look real quickly at the vowels. Okay, here we go with the vowels, and if you'll notice, we have short and long vowels. The difference in these is not so much how they are pronounced, but just the way we classify them. So a short patach is an ah, just like a long kametz is an ah. Now in Hebrew, they typically may have lengthened and shortened these sounds phonetically, but for our purposes, they're going to be very similar. We do get a few differences. Oftentimes with a sigol, you'll hear, yeah, here it is, an E as in pet, versus an A as in they, with these long E's, sere, sigol yod, sere yod. But not always, and sometimes you'll hear a sigol pronounced like an A as in they. So just know that some of this is fluid, but for just our purposes here, these generalities of this chart are going to be helpful. Notice also that a kametz hatuf short O looks identical to a long kametz A. We'll learn in Chapter 5 how to distinguish those two, so don't worry about that right now. Just know that they're there. Another thing that probably was a preliminary that I should have mentioned earlier is you'll notice that Dr. Fuller is writing all of these vowels with a samic. Okay, you can write these vowels with any consonant. Okay, we can put a bait, we can put a kaf with a patach. We can write these with any consonant. We've just used a samic here for standardization purposes, but we could write these with any consonant. So just know that the samic is a placeholder, so to speak, here. The last thing I want to mention to you are these historic long vowels. Okay, these are historic long, and I believe he's marked them here with a little cross. A historic long vowel is going to be a vowel that is coupled with another consonant. In our case, it's going to be a yod or a vav. We have the sere yod, sigol yod Hurric Yod, and then we have a Cholim Vav and a Shurik. And we'll talk a lot more about these little guys and how they function, why they're historic longs. But for now, just recognize them as such. And in the next chapter, we'll be distinguishing a vocalic a vowel of a Vav versus a consonant Vav, and then a vowel Yod versus a consonant Yod. So we'll look at those in the next chapter. That's a little bit about the vowels and consonants of the Hebrew alphabet. I hope that was helpful for you, and there'll be more of these videos to come.